Sounds good.
Hello, everybody. My name is John Lint. Thank you for letting me into your ears and onto your screens. If you're watching the video version, this is our second video cast. And for this one, I have a guest that I'm very excited to have, and that is Deepa Deshmukh. She is a dietitian based in it's
Chicagoland area.
Yeah, Chicagoland area. How am I drawing a blank? I used to, I go over there, every couple, six months or so. And
that's okay. It's Lisle, Illinois.
I was like, I think it's Lisle, Illinois, but I'm not 100% sure.
No worries.
So Deepa has a nutritionist. She's a nutritionist operating out of Lisle. She has a podcast. She does weekly Facebook Lives. You have your branded content. You have the lentil crispies. You are really the vision of American entrepreneurship and just going at it 100%, I would say.
Thank you, John. That was a very generous praise, I must say. No, I mean, really, it's been an interesting journey. Last 14 years. I graduated from Benedictine University with a degree in public health and nutrition, and started really practicing at a diabetes center, and then said, oh, you know what, maybe I should get into private practice, and didn't really know what I was doing, really. And when I say it, I mean it. I always knew nutrition is something that I liked because my other undergraduate degree is from India, and it is in food science and nutrition. So that itch for nutrition sciences was always within me. I just didn't know where I would go with it. And that's one thing, sometimes when we are young, we tend to overanalyze it and say, oh my God, is this what I'm going to do for the rest of my life or whatever? But I just decided to just do it. And literally when I started renting a 8x8 room within a exercise studio, I had no idea how I was going to pay the rent or who is going to come. So that was 2006 or 7. So that's how it all.
And was that in Lisle that you started?
Yeah, that's the office where you have seen me. That's the office I have been since day one. Yes.
Wow.
I never moved. I didn't have to move. I always made sure that the business model was very linear. So did a lot of things on my own. I mean, I learned how to do the billing for dietitians on my own. I learned how to, what do you call it? Yeah, the CPT codes and the billing and charting. And from very first day, decided to get into the electronic health record system. So we never had boxes and boxes of patient charts. So always kind of kept looking for the latest and the greatest, which was coming, which was not there. I mean, electronic EHR back then for dietitian was very rare. There weren't too many dietitians in private practice to start with. And then, but I was very fortunate to have a really good founding member who in my practice, and her name is Victoria, and she was interested in eating disorder patients, and mine was more of a chronic disease specialty. So that was interesting, and we just jumped into it, and that's how it all started.
Was there a moment that you realized like chronic disease or plant-based was something that you wanted to do specifically, or was it something that just kind of evolved over time?
So I'll be very, very honest that we opened up the practice, I believe 2006 or 2007 June, okay? And my first instinct was to contact the insurance companies and become in-network providers. And we started calling these insurance companies and none of them. I can tell you, Aetna, United Healthcare, Cigna, Humana, Blue Cross Blue Shield. No one was interested in contracting with dietitians. And I said, how is that possible? You know, then I looked at the Medicare reimbursement and I saw that they cover diabetes, but not pre-diabetes. They don't cover, they cover weight loss surgeries, but not somebody who is overweight. So
they cover treatment, but not prevention.
Not treatment, but prevention. It just did not make sense. It took me a while. It was a bit of an eye opener for me as to how this system was so screwed up. And then I went to the doctors and tried to work with them and see if they would be interested in nutrition. It was just not on anyone's radar. Now, during this time, what happened, we were very fortunate to have had conversation with a medical director at Aetna, and she was the one who said, oh yes, we do have a MNT coverage policy, but we don't actually have dietitians. So she was my first breakthrough. It took me a year, but this whole thing requires patience.
Yeah.
And you just have to try it and try it and try it without really feeling discouraged. It was very difficult because you don't have mentor. There was no one who was doing what I was doing. And then during this time, I realized that no matter what patient I'm seeing, whether it was for diabetes or cholesterol or weight loss or digestive health, they all had one common symptom in place, which was everybody would always say, oh, I just don't have energy. And it was very interesting for me to see, because these were working professionals. They had full-time jobs. These were moms, or, these are regular people. But some would say, oh, I feel so tired around 3 o'clock or 4:30 when I go to pick up my kids that I take nap in the parking lot. Some would say, I come home at 4:30 from work and I crash and I just sleep until 7 o'clock. So all these, listening to the patients, and that's true for any profession. If you are in almost like a customer service type of, or a service industry, you have to listen to your clients. You have to understand what their problem is, what they are going through. And listening to these stories, you may say, got me thinking as to why are these people so tired? They are not starving. It was not a caloric deficit type of a situation, but why are they starving? And that's when I started looking into their gut health, and what these people had such poor digestive health issues that nobody has ever bothered to look at when treating them. And then during that investigation, I realized that no matter what, gut requires fiber, and fiber comes from plant. I did not grow up eating meat. I didn't know much about meat. I did not cook any meat growing up. Even in the college here, I did not cook red meat. I didn't know much about it. What I knew was beans and lentils and nuts and seeds, basically. And I remember even searching how much fiber is in meat. That's how poor my knowledge was about meat. And when I realized that these people are eating eggs in the morning, burger or pizza, and then another burger or pizza or meatloaf or steak or grilled chicken, they are not getting any fiber. Okay. And as I started just promoting people with, at least try half a cup of beans or lentils. And obviously this was very, very foreign concept for the population. I was asking them to use turmeric. I was talking to them about adding a little bit of quinoa. So all that just made me think that plant-based is a way to go. And until I would say 2-3 years ago, when the word plant-based came on the surface, I didn't even know that I was practicing plant-based nutrition. That's all I knew, and that's all I was practicing. I didn't know there is something called plant-based lifestyle. So that's how it really evolved.
Yeah, I remember, I think when I was a kid, my mother, she says now that like she would try to get 70 grams or something like that of fiber a day. I was always like, that's an insane amount of fiber.
Correct.
But I think it does pay off. I've always had good digestion and no real gastric issues. I'm sure in large part because I had a ton of fiber, especially as a kid.
Yes. So really, I mean, that's what it came down to. What I realized, that people were eating and they were not nourishing themselves, and there was a difference between eating and nourishing. And I would literally sit down and have them, write down what they are eating and say, which one do you think is actually nourishing yourself? What did you get from eating a McDonald's egg sandwich or egg McMuffin with a cup of black coffee? What did you get? What nutrient did you get? So I learned how to deliver the information that people could understand, by literally just doing this one-on-one talking, counseling, and came up with very simple ideas and strategies, you can say. And the material or the content that you get so excited about when I talk to you is built over a period of time, and just a collection of my interaction with my patients. And because when you talk to somebody, that's when you understand where the knowledge gap is.
Definitely. I think that I found that your way of informing and educating people is really something that you don't see very often. And I think that's very damaging, especially to the vegan community, because you'll see these like the vegan or the plant-based people, and rather than trying to inform people and educate people, they essentially use their platform to talk down to people and to insult people. Like I know there's this one TikToker in particular that I see every once in a while, and she's one of those people who talks to everyone like they're a child, but she's the person who, even as a child, you would hate being talked to like that. And she always does her things of like, oh well, killing animals is evil and we shouldn't do it, and everyone always attacks her in the comments because the way her messaging is just so it doesn't leave any room for compromise. And I've noticed, when you're talking about plant-based, you always mention it's plant-based. There's degrees. It doesn't have to be 100%. I personally meal prep. For those of you who follow my Instagram, I'm sure you'll see every week, or I try to every week, post what I'm eating. And I know, Deepa, you mentioned like next time you have ground beef or ground turkey, just throw some mushrooms in it.
Yes, it starts somewhere. Just like everything else, right? Exercise. Nobody goes and starts running a marathon. If I want to learn a skill, I don't know, painting. Nobody becomes a painter overnight. It takes time, and many times as a clinician, we have tendency to tell patients, oh, just do A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Well, patient is very overwhelmed. Okay. I see that with cancer patients all the time. Oh, you must start, oh, go and book your radiation appointment, your chemo appointment, your this appointment, your that appointment, nutrition. And then if you find time, eat well, right? Or try to eat. You cannot just shush the patient away by telling them everything that they need to do. Okay, the patient will do well when you give them tools to eat well, right? So people say, in the beginning, doctors would always say that, hey Deepa, patients don't listen. I said, of course patients are not going to listen if you just tell them, oh, go and start eating 6 cups of vegetables. That's not how it is done. You need to show them how to start eating 1 tablespoon of vegetable. Like what I told you, that, I didn't say anything about, John, you should not eat meat or you should eat meat or blah, blah, blah. I said, John, next time when you're making your burger, just add half the amount of mushrooms. That's all.
Yeah.
Okay. Because our brain is designed to absorb maybe negative sometimes more. If you tell me, Deepa, don't look back, my instinct is to look back. If I tell you don't eat meat, you are going to feel deprived. When you're making a lifestyle change, you should not feel deprived.
Yeah, definitely. So, I think, unfortunately, you see this a lot where, especially when people are trying to do more vegan or vegetarian, they don't necessarily have the resources, so they don't want to be deprived, and either they'll like go extreme and then they'll break and they'll have a burger and they'll just crash, or they will, I'll see this a lot, they'll like want a 1-to-1 ratio conversion from meat to plant-based. So if they have a burger, they want something that looks, tastes, and feels exactly like a burger. Yes. And all of this stuff. And even if without consideration of like if it's good for you. So it does seem like, people are looking for that substitution, rather than trying to kind of create something new. But it sounds like what you're saying is like that is intrinsic. People don't want to go all the way extreme.
Correct. I mean, most of the people, yes, there are some, they say, oh, Deepa, tell me whatever you want me to do, I will do it. Even then, when I tell them, I want them, do you really want to go this route? Okay. When I actually tell them to do that, I think that they should do, okay, what I think my recommendations are, they're like, oh, all right, I wasn't expecting so many things. Well, you asked me to give you a list of, you said, tell me whatever you want me to do and I will do it. But even then, as a practitioner, you have to be a bit careful that, you still have to guide that person in such a way that you are not feeling frustrated. I mean, the patient is not feeling frustrated about making the change. Only then it will be a lifestyle change, So there's a degree of or stages of change, we call it, and you just have to assess where your patient is, your client is in terms of stage of change, and take them along and give them very hands-on tools,
So is that something that you kind of started with, that way of working with people? Is that something you kind of brought to your career, or is that something that you developed over time working with people?
I think it happened over a period of time, right? For example, when I discovered quinoa in 2009, I couldn't just tell people, oh, start eating quinoa. I first had to figure out, how to cook and where to find it, so on and so forth. So when you come to my office, you see I have all these empty boxes and all those things that people need to see. I show people, I make a list, a grocery list based on the grocery store that they have access to. So all that happened as I was seeing patients. Because when I was talking to them, that's when I was making points of where they are struggling with, like what the pain point was. Because at the end of the day, whether you are a business or doesn't matter, whatever you are doing, you have to make sure that you are solving someone's problem. Only then you are useful.
Okay. So would you say that, because I know that, direct nutritionist work isn't the only thing you do. Would you say that you apply that approach of how you're solving someone's problem to your other endeavors and businesses?
Absolutely. So what happened then, in 2008, I was approached by who has now become my friend, Jen, who is a CEO of gluten-free marketing group. She was putting out a first expo for gluten-free community. Okay. And she invited me as a speaker. And that time, again, gluten-free was all about gluten-free donuts and cookies and gluten-free breads. And, the trend was all about, like you were saying, finding something gluten-free, which they used to eat with gluten. Substitute for donuts. And there was no emphasis on healthier gluten-free options. And I remember she asked me, so Deepa, what do you want to talk about? I said, I'm not a baker, but I know that lentils and beans are gluten-free and are packed with nutrients. Because in 2007, when I started scoping the gluten-free market, I realized that these people at this point are enjoying all this gluten-free junk, but are going to come around with issues such as obesity and cholesterol and all that stuff, even though they were thin at this point, but if you just replace one evil with the other, your health is not going to improve. And I felt that they were going to have massive nutritional deficiencies, so I kept focusing on promoting intact grains or whole grains, obviously gluten-free grains and anti-inflammatory herbs and spices and lentils and beans. But that's when I realized that, well, they didn't know how to cook lentils. They didn't know where to buy it. They didn't know how to flavor it. And that was a beginning of my itch for developing products, and me and my friend Susan, we came up with this lentil and quinoa based product line. And it was a very cute boutique type of a business we had, and we learned a lot from it. And it was predominantly for gluten-free people and so on and so forth. And then in 2013, Susan moved to North Carolina, and that's when I said, you know what, I don't think I could do it on my own. So as I was exiting, I met another good mentor of mine who had capability of turning lentils into something crispy without frying. And that was the beginning of my second product development venture, where I developed this lentil crispies. So as you can see, all this was to solve consumers' problem. The lentil crispies is really unique because people can eat lentils for breakfast, because these are like small little Rice Krispies, but made out of lentils and without frying. So they are crunchy. They can be eaten as a cereal. They can be used as a topper on salad. So that just helps consumer open their choices, or opens the application ideas for the consumer.
So how was transitioning from more of the service industry and providing a service for people to providing a product for people? Because it sounds like you were applying some of the similar concepts, but I just want to know how the overall process was for you.
Being a dietitian and sitting in the office probably was the easiest, because when you get into product development, consumer oriented products, CPGs, consumer product goods, there are a lot of moving parts. You have a lot of variables and unknowns. You have to worry about supply chain, testing, production, marketing. Literally, there are millions of moving parts, and except what I can do, I have no control over many of them. Okay, so the execution is very important. I still think that process is I'm still learning, in the sense I don't feel I have conquered it yet, but I'm just in my 4th year of it. Projects like these take long time, so I'm again on the patience mode here. I'm just, every day I learn. I talk to other CEOs who are in the space. I read a lot. I'm just doing these other things for awareness, education, so on and so forth. So people will at least know who I am, and if there is ever a product, there will be a credibility behind it. So it's still an evolving process.
Yeah. So if someone wanted to get into that kind of industry of, you said it was a consumer product good, CPG?
Yes. Yeah.
If they wanted to break into that industry, how would you recommend they start finding resources to learn and educate themselves about what it takes to do that?
It takes lot of digging, I would say. You reach out to people, you reach out to other fellow, I don't know, food manufacturers or CEOs or founders who have done something similar. You connect. Facebook groups are amazing. For plant-based or vegan entrepreneurs, there is a special group that I belong to. You just need to talk to more people and learn, and be ready to take a punch, because no matter how careful you are and how carefully you draft your plan, there is always something that goes wrong, and you should have capability to fail, and look at it not as a complete failure, but hey, as a stepping stone, or as a misstep, you can say, but get up and get going. Because many times I feel that people start, and the idea of doing all this is very romantic. I see my interns and they are like, oh, Deepa, I want to do what you want to do. I said, okay, the first thing I would recommend is start vacuuming the office, because that's what I did. You have to start. You have to know what you're doing from the ground up. If somebody wants to get into it, you need to have an idea, see what's going on, and connect to other people, and really scope, make sure you are studying your space really well.
So you'd say a big part of it is finding a community of people kind of in the same boat as you.
Absolutely. Because you will need a support. And like I said, in private practice, it was easier because I have patients and it was me. So, and then, my office manager. So there are only 2 people involved in operations. When it comes to product development or anything like that, you have a lot of other people involved, and you should have ability to lead, you should have ability to learn, you should be patient. Not everybody works at your own pace. That was the biggest lesson I learned when I launched my lentil crispies, because I run very fast. My brain goes very fast. I execute very quickly to just rule out things that, hey, this worked, this did not work. But not everybody is designed to do that. And I learned over a period of time that I just need to be patient and have realistic expectations, sometimes which is hard because you want things to be done quickly. You want things to be done as close to perfect, and they don't happen.
Understandable.
That's
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna start wrapping up here. So, if there's one sentence, one piece of advice you can give to a young entrepreneur looking to make a name for themselves, what would that be?
Start slowly and be patient. Start slowly, be patient, and connect, reach out. We as human beings, sometimes we feel, oh my God, maybe John is too busy, or maybe Deepa is too busy to talk to me, oh, I'm nothing, why would somebody contact me? Don't have that inhibition. Always remember, don't ask, don't get. Okay, so there's nothing wrong in asking very politely for help, for guidance, for mentorship. I would say I have been extremely lucky to have met mentors or colleagues by serendipity. You can say, like how I met John and his marketing partner, who have been helping me tremendously with what I'm doing in this phase of my life. Was literally it just happened. It was not planned, but it just happened. And same thing with my quite a few of mentors. And I feel that yes, it was luck of draw, you can say, but I was also polite and I was willing to learn. So you have to have that open mind. And I learned about packaging, even though I had no experience in packaging, but I met this wonderful person, my mentor, Chris, who taught me so much about packaging. So I had to find time and day and open mind to learn. So, just keep all those things, find mentors, reach out, and take a next step, and start slowly but steady.
Okay. And last but not least, where can people find you?
So people can find me on Facebook at Nutritionist Deepa Facebook page predominantly. If you just Google dietitian or nutritionist Deepa, if you are looking for medical nutrition therapy type of consults, then you will hit my practice website, dupagedietitians.com. And where else? On Twitter, Nutritionist Deepa, and Instagram, Nutritionist Deepa. These are the and my podcast, oh my God, Ask Nutritionist Deepa. So if any one of you have any questions, I don't care about self-care, wellness, business, how to grow cactus, I don't know. Please feel free to reach out, and I will answer your question, or I will get back to you. And yeah, so these are the ways to find me.
Okay. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, John.
I hope you have a wonderful day.
You too.
Okay. Ah, sorry.
That's okay.
Here.